2. Make life easy with Travi.
Step into the spotlight.
All right, let's get this show on the road. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Creative Collective Podcast. I am your host, Shomari KRL, welcoming you guys inside another edition for a conversation with three very powerful ladies who I have in the guest room waiting on us, and we're going to get to that conversation shortly. Quickly, I need to remind you guys that each and every episode of the podcast is sponsored by Travi, the #1 rideshare app in Trinidad and Tobago. Just remember, right now, Travi is the only rideshare app in TNT that rewards you. Earn free credit when you refer friends using your personal referral code, or earn points on each trip you take to get cash back. Visit TraviRides.com/rewards to learn more info. Make life easy with Travi. Also, you want to say thank you going out to Control Entertainment, always in control. Control Entertainment is a dynamic company that caters to all your event needs. Follow them on IG right now with Control, with a K, Control_Entertainment. We are broadcasting on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitch at the Creative Collective Podcast. Also, shout out to everybody that's joining us right now on our guest Facebook pages. We say thank you for being in the conversation tonight. We also are on the Ride Travi Instagram page, and we'll invite you guys to make sure and follow us on TikTok at TKK Podcast. That's TKK Podcast. Make sure and follow us on TikTok. Finally, we have to say shout out to our streaming partners, GMGT in New York, GMGT Live. Of course, where the motto is the culture lives, where the culture lives. So thank you to GMGT Live in New York City for always hosting us as well. So shout out to the New York crew. All right, so tomorrow is International Women's Day. And if you've been a fan of this podcast since we started in 2020, there's always one show that I try to do every single season. I consider that show probably one of the more important shows that we do. And it's called The Present is Female. This is the 3rd edition of this podcast that we're having of this episode. And I'm very, very thankful to have with me a powerful team of guests. So let me see if I can get them here. And as you can see them, one with the corner wall, one who is right now in the office of the Prime Minister, and the other one who has just come back from walking a dog. And I'm very, very glad that she can join us tonight. All right, so let me get to it, because ladies, as people know, when you come on the podcast, obviously you have to get the introduction. So you want to make sure and start it off like this, all right? So to my lady with the beautiful corner wall, to my, that'll be what, my right, your left? Right, good. With over 10 years experience in the entertainment industry, Adana Asson is the director of the public relations company CreativA, or it's CreativA Media PR, an entity which specializes in reputation curation and building. With a passion for developing the stories of clients she has worked with, she has created a lane of success that resonates to all that encounter her work. With a BA in Media and Communications and associate degree in Public Relations and Journalism, Adana's attitude and work ethic has separated her from her counterparts in the entertainment industry. Though working silently behind the scenes, Adana's work has spoken loudly in its support for many personalities in the entertainment industry. Currently, she represents soca stars Patrice Roberts, Cohen Dubois, and Skinny Banton, among others, and has done work for personalities such as Nessa Preppy, Pretty, Ricky T, Nadia Batson, Voice, and Lyrical, to name a few. Her skills have positively impacted the perception of her clients as she continues to redefine the role of a publicist. So that is Miss Adana Asson. Good night, Adana. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey.
Also, somebody who's been a friend of mine for as long as I can remember. From the age of 15, Charlotte Shady fell in love with the fascination of blending music. For this talented woman from South Trinidad, DJing is an art form, like telling a story. For her, it's imperative that music creates unforgettable moments with the crowd she plays for, and the intention is always to leave a mark everywhere she goes. DJ Charlotte has shared her talents not only at home, but on an international level in countries such as Jamaica, the US, Belize, Barbados, and many other territories. She has also made her mark in the entertainment scene in TNT via her stint on radio and her brand ambassadorships for companies such as Blue Waters and White Oak. Charlotte has also been invited on occasion to be a guest speaker at some younger audiences, especially at her alma mater of the University of the West Indies, where she holds a BSc in Chemistry and Management. Through talent and hard work, she continues to grow with every opportunity she gets, pushing the movement for women all over the world that are women are the future. So that is Charlotte Chedi from South Trinidad. And finally, Am I allowed to use the last name, or do I skip the last name? Can I just use the last name just for this one entrance? One entrance. All right, okay. Imani Patterson is an American-born recording artist with strong Trinbagonian roots. Her deep love for culture is what inspired her music career, especially in soca. Imani started in the entertainment world as a dancer. At 14, she attended the Voir Dance School in New York City, and this experience helped her develop the discipline and foundation that would follow her all throughout her entertainment career. With a strong desire to achieve her full potential, she turned to music, a decision which has blossomed into a fledgling and promising career. With a humble personality and unique sound, Imani has not limited herself to one genre only, as she has worked on incorporating versatile sounds in her music, including reggae and pop. She has many hits, including songs such as Take Jam, Dangerous, and Dynamite, to name a few. Imani's ultimate goal is to share good vibes through her music with an international audience. Imani, good night. Good night to all you ladies. Thank you guys so much for being inside the podcast tonight. You guys can just unmute your microphones. Let me make sure I can hear everybody and everybody can hear me. Are we all connected? Charlotte, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Adana,
Good
can
night.
you hear me?
Hi.
And Imani, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Great, fantastic. Yes, we can hear you. That's great. Now, as per usual, guys, during the live, if you have any questions that you want to ask our guests, please make sure and do so in the comment section. We will try to get to some of the comments during the night on any platform. If you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, if you're joining us on Twitch, you can make sure and ask us a question on all those platforms. Also, shout out to everybody on GMGT Live. We know that we don't get your questions live from your chat, but I'm going to have Atiba, who is our admin in the background, looking at the questions from GMGT Live and sending us some of the questions for the night. Also, I don't know about you ladies, but it's been a long day. There's alcohol inside of this. I'm not going to say what kind of alcohol is inside here. Usually when we have guests on this show, we like to take a toast for different things. So if it is that you all are drinking something, it could be water, it doesn't necessarily matter. But, we usually take a toast inside the chat during the course of the night. So I don't know, Charlotte, are you drinking anything at all?
You didn't tell me to bring the white sauce, but
Oh, God, I look.
I'll bring some bottles.
Dana, do you have anything at all in your bottle? Or?
I do have some iced tea in my Great Fat Weekend bottle.
Wow. Okay, it's a great fat.
Okay.
Well, Imani, I don't know if you have anything. I haven't seen you pull up any bottle or any drink at all.
Yeah, tell me either. So I have a Patron bottle right there, though.
Well, yeah. If you can get it. If somebody can drop a drink for any of you all, we'll count it. All right, we'll count it. So I want to get the conversation quickly tonight because we have so much to cover. And what I think is really, really interesting about this live tonight is the blend of all the talents that are with us. It's a lot of interlocking interests. And I feel that we can learn from the experiences of you guys, and you all can learn from each other, and we can have a great synergistic conversation, which I think is something that we always try to have here on the podcast. Adana, I want to start with you. Obviously, in reading your bio, I read that some considered you when you were younger a chatterbox, right? Mm-hmm. And I find it so funny because, and I'm sure the four of us could relate to that when we were younger, there were things that we would do that our parents and our peers would look at us and like, why are you always doing that? And look where it may have gotten you now in terms of a career. Did your passion to be a storyteller always included being involved in entertainment, or did it start with a different motivation?
I definitely always had an interest in entertainment, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to exactly where I would have ended up, if that made sense. So initially, I wanted to start a magazine. I had this great idea. I wanted to have a print magazine. And, I sold my dad on this idea, and bless his heart, he really was willing to fund the project. But after a lot of, research, I realized where the hell was I going to even get this money from to fund, a print magazine. So later on, within research and all of that, I realized, I really do have this interest to kind of tell stories, and how could I bridge that gap or marry it together. And then I started to realize that, public relations is something that, when I sat and I looked at what publicists do, I realized that it would have been, that would have been the perfect space for me. But of course, it still took a little time for me to like wiggle my way into the profession and find my space. Of course, there were people who helped me along the way, of course, but I realized in my adult years, so it didn't come like, some people will tell a story like, since I was a child, I knew. I mean, I love to read and I love to write. And that was throughout my childhood. I would hide in the toilet and read out one book in a day. My mother looking for me in the toilet reading books, because that was just like the real comfortable, just quiet space. So on the ground in the toilet, just reading a book. I would go through those days was Goosebumps. I used to love a Goosebumps. I used to buy all the Goosebumps books, and I'm there reading out 500 pages, so much of my pages in a couple hours, or So I fell into it eventually, but I had always had a knack for chatting and liking to read and write. So I guess it's a eventual progression, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I mean, a lot of times where you start is not necessarily where you end up. And sometimes where you start ends up much more progressive than you probably would have seen yourself at that point in time. So
Yeah,
I get that. Charlotte, as I said, we go way back.
Way back.
And I mean,
we
I
do.
was tempted for this live to find some of our old pictures from Yui, but I decided
Oh
not
no,
to put you through
please
that. No. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. But I know for a fact that when you were going Yui, you had a particular passion.
I did.
Do you think that there were any similarities between the desires that you had when you were younger to follow your passion in medicine and where you are right now with music? And what do you think was the one factor, if there was one, that won you over to pursue a music career in the way that you are right now?
I don't think there was really any similarities. I did sciences, and I went to St. Joseph's Convent, San Fernando. I did sciences. I did everything that was expected of me to do. And in the middle of that, I really liked music. I like to listen to music. I like to listen to radio, and I would always listen to how the DJs would mix the songs. And then I met a group of friends through altar servers. Yes, very random,
Right.
but we all used to serve mass together, and then we would lime a lot. And through that, they were like, listen, we want to create a DJ group and we want to play on board. And this is in the middle of, I was like 15, doing full sciences, chem, bio, physics, art, maths. And in my head, I thinking, well, I'm going to go on to do medicine, maybe optometry. That was where my mind was. And I'm thinking this DJing thing, I didn't even think it would be a career. So there wasn't really anything from school that I used to apply to DJing, because DJing was just a hobby.
Right.
But when I entered university, funny enough, was when I was open to be DJ world even more.
Right.
Because there's always parties, there's always something going on campus. And I was doing a whole bachelor's degree in chemistry and management. And at the same time, I was living on a hall, Trinity Hall. And in that, when you live on hall, you have to take part in all kinds of activities. So I was more or less pushed to be present at events and go to parties. And I was kind of open up into this DJ world even more. And I was thinking, like, I was just being drawn to it more than I was being drawn to doing sciences. And I felt like the difference between that is that I'm good at chemistry, but I love DJing. Like, I just felt like I ended up doing chemistry because it's a subject that I'm good at. but it's not something that interests me or really captured me the way DJing captured me. And
Gotcha.
I mean, at that age, I was still trying to figure out life. Like, I was trying to figure out what it is I want to do. And I'm still not, like, there was only one female DJ at the time that was really saying anything, and that was Alicia the Duchess.
Right.
So other than that, I'm like, what, 21? I'm thinking to myself, 20, 21, how am I gonna enter this field, this industry? And like, there's only one woman really doing it out there, you know, and everybody else is met. And it instantly became super intimidating. Even though I had opportunities to play in university parties and stuff, it never really occurred to me even then that, you know, this is something that you could do full time. This is something that you can make a career out of, you know. So it was like, okay, stick to the chemistry, because that's where you could get your job. You know, you could get that 8 to 4, and then, you know, keep the DJing thing as well, but just as, you know, a hobby.
Right.
So that, it was literally like apples and oranges. I really can't even compare the two. I mean, I learned a lot from my degree, but I would honestly say what I learned the most out of the university was people, and like meeting people and networking and all those things. And that's what really built my career, you know. So I started to meet so many people from all over the Caribbean, the world, you know, really opened my eyes to, you know, there's other things you can do besides what you're doing right now. And it's okay to change that. It's okay to say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to follow this.
Yeah.
So I've come a long way.
There are a couple of points that you raised there that I promised to come back to, especially talking about in terms of being the only female doing what you were doing, and the networking aspect, which is something I was thinking about just before we went live, and I wanted to make that mention to you guys. I want to jump quickly to Imani, who has always been passionate about dance, but you speak a lot about your Trini roots, and you speak fondly about your Trini roots. Can you tell us, like, what aspects do you think of your Trini roots that you felt drove you to following your desire into soca and as probably the primary music that you do, or just, as I should say, what do you think from your Trini roots drove you into music as a performer in particular?
Well, my story is a bit heavy or emotional, like how I got into the music. So bear with me. But yeah, I was dancing. I never expected to like get into music and sing. That just wasn't on my to-do list.
Right.
I was I started in the entertainment industry by like doing background dancing for music videos, dancing for, you know, a lot of different projects that was happening in Atlanta, because I was living in Atlanta at some point. But what happened is I lost my father when I was 16, and I just felt so lost. Like, I was this happy go lucky kid that always wanted to dance. Like, I literally would skip lunch at school just to practice and, you know, get ready for whether it be dancing for my school or dancing, because I was part of a dance crew in Atlanta. And I was the captain, so I was like, you know, trying to stay on top of my game when it came to dancing. But that joy literally died when my father died, and that actually scared me, because I never felt like that in my life. I was always a happy kid. I told my mom all the time I had like the best childhood, because I was, you know, so that honestly scared me to feel that way. And growing up, I always listened to soca because it's always playing in the house, and I just felt the need to tap into that, because soca is just such an uplifting genre, and I didn't want to feel that sadness. I didn't want to feel heavy. I didn't want to feel that darkness. So honestly, soca was very therapeutic, like getting into it. And from there, I just, you know, it's become more of a passion over dancing. Like, I still love to dance, and that's why I still do it, and I incorporate it as much as I can, even when I perform. But I definitely have a love for music that I never imagined. Never.
Gotcha. And funny enough, when you made mention to that, even though you said it was a heavy story,
Yeah.
I actually read it in one of the articles. I think it was a news report or a news interview that they did on you a while ago, and I saw that party story, and it was just so amazing that from that level of tragedy that you would have gone through from your life, it kind of sparked something new to bring you into a whole new, different side of yourself that existed from before. Because I remember you saying that people used to say that you could sing and you'd be like, nah, I can't sing.
Yeah,
But people
I was
used to say,
working. So I was actually. So what happened is we had a friend that was a casting agent. Like she was part of casting for like music videos, TV shows, movies, all that stuff. So we were close friends, and one day I think it was like after we worked on a project, I was just, we were just hanging out. I was just singing a song that was stuck in my head, and she was like, Imani, you can actually sing. Like, if you take, obviously you need vocal lessons to like tighten up, but she was like, if you take vocal lessons, you could be like a triple threat. Like, do the dancing, the singing, and the acting, because I was, dabbling in acting.
right,
I'm like, no, that's not what I want.
right,
I just want to boop, boop, boop.
right,
And then when the whole situation with my dad happened, I remember, and the crazy thing is, I remember mentioning to my father, that I might consider, getting into singing, because I did kind of consider it, but I didn't take it serious. And he was so on board. He was like, I'm gonna get you a vocal coach. I know somebody in LA, da 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 da. And I think that's what triggered, like, once he passed away and it was like, I decided to get into music. I kind of remembered like how excited he was and how supportive he was. And up to this day, I try to remember that, just to be like, oh my gosh, if he could see like how far I've come and how serious I've taken it and what it's done for me, I think he would be so happy.
Well, first of all, I think that he would be extremely proud by all of your accomplishments so far. So we say cheers to him for kudos for him, right? And you raise actually an interesting point, which is something I speak about a lot on this podcast, because usually we have a lot of young people that look at these episodes. And one of the things that always comes up is that there's a moment in the development of your career where is either you get any support or you not really get any support. And you actually said something which I want to throw back to Adana and then Charlotte in terms of that party discussion. Adana, did you growing up, because as I said, you were the one always in the bathroom hiding with a book. So when you saw that this is something that you wanted to do, did you have that same kind of support that what Imani had, or was it a struggle for you to kind of prove to your parents and prove to the individuals within your family and your circle that, yo, this is something that I am going to do, I'm going to make it, etc., etc.?
So just to make it like very clear, right? I went through like a period of a lot of uncertainty, right? And then even when I began practicing PR, I still had like regular 8 to 4, 9 to 5 working for somebody sort of situation. It was only, I want to say, about 4 or 5 years, give or take. I can't remember the year right now, that I ended up in a situation where I thought about wanting to do this full time, right? And then I was made redundant in the job that I was in because they were doing some restructuring. And I had the opportunity to, of course, go back into the position. But after being home for like 3-4 months for them to restructure the organization and whatever, I realized that, okay, no. I really want to give this like a full shot. But of course, you have 2 degrees, you're thinking about a consistent salary every month or whatever. And I remember talking to, I want to say, my significant other about it. And he was just kind of like, if that's what you're trying to do, like, do that. And I was talking to my dad about it. And my mom always says, like, you look into rubber bank, your father go and support you in everything. Like, he doesn't question. He's like, yeah, you want to do it, go do it. Monday could fall on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Like, this guy doesn't care, But my mom was just kind of like, okay, well, you have goals, like, what is your plan? You sure, this and that. But I remember like the real defining moment for me when I know, because like my dad was fully on board, people around me were fully on board because they saw how it would have benefited them, especially like clients. When I was like, okay, I'm not going to be in this situation anymore, they were excited about that because now Adana has more time to give. My mom needed a little more convincing, because she is very, very realistic,
Half the time it's always the mothers. Half the time it's always the mothers.
She's probably listening to me downstairs, I'm pretty sure. So, hey, Mom, I made it. So I remember going to Jamaica with Patrice for a project or whatever. And when I came back home, there was like this little postcard. Well, I just saw an envelope on the bed and it was addressed with my name. I was like, where does this come from? But from looking at it, I could already see her handwriting. So I opened it up and it was this postcard. I still have the postcard. I can't remember the exact words, right? But it was basically just confirmation that, hey, follow your dreams, live in your truth, that kind of conversation. And she put money in the she put money in the postcard. But it wasn't, I'm not telling you, it wasn't like tens of thousands, 20 of thousands, you understand? It was like, right? But it was almost like you're saying, hey, I believe in what you're doing and I invested in it. So this is the encouragement that I want to give you. Listen, I cried so much that night because the trip had a few hurdles, obstacles, how it is sometimes. So there were some things that had me a little thrown about it. And I just came back home and I just wanted to just sleep, and I just, every time I think about it, I tear because like that was really like an absolute defining moment, just like anything that was holding me back was just like, okay, mommy on board. So nobody could talk to me now. It's me and the world, So that's, if I'm hoping that I answered your question. Defining moment for me. Like I knew, but I needed like that little extra push. And when she came fully invested in the situation, it gave me like extra reassurance. Like, okay, you're not making a bad decision.
Charlotte, if it's one thing I know for a fact, and I laugh because
why are you laughing?
I laugh because again we've known each other for a bit, so I understand the challenges that come with being a DJ in a uber competitive environment that has so many men in the environment, and as you said, you were the one female trying to come in. Was there a defining moment for you where it is that your family and they came on board with what you were doing and they finally realized that, we could really give her the kind of support that she needed? Or was that something that came from the beginning?
Well, unlike Adana, my father.
That's why I laugh.
No, because I was hearing a story and I was like, wait, but my father had a problem with me being a DJ. I mean, being a DJ requires you to play in clubs, whatever parties, late in the night, and a female DJ in particular. I felt like, you had to dress up and look,
Right.
Back then. It's only now I've grown to like have my own style and wear whatever I feel like, to be honest. But back then I felt like, you have to look sexy.
Right.
So I would bust out the heels and the leather pants and all these things, and my father was kind of like, well, where's my daughter going dressed like that?
Right.
In the middle of the night, even though I had like friends would pick me up and drop me back and whatnot. So it was very difficult for him to come around. But my mom is my biggest fan. No lie, she has supported me whatever I wanted to do ever since I was small. Like she never pressured me to be perfect or be number one since like primary school days. Even when I got my CXC results and I was crying. I wouldn't tell him results, but I called my mom crying and I was like, oh my God, I did that. And she's like, why are you crying? Like, I am so proud of you. Like, she's like, it doesn't matter how you do, I will always be proud of you. So she has always been supporting me from the start. So when I told her, I really, really like this DJing thing. And she didn't question it. You know, she was like, well, if this is what you want to do, then great. But my dad, he turned around when he was watching the news one night, because my father watches the news 7 o'clock on the dot, Monday to Friday. I feel like most Caribbean parents.
Yeah, they'll find themselves in front of the TV just to watch news at that
On
time for whatever
the
reason.
dot.
Yeah.
On the dot. And he's watching the news, and a certain commercial pops up, and it is a Malta commercial. Malta had reached out to me when I was like just starting to DJ. They were looking for young people in different fields. And there's actually a cool story, because they ended up pulling me and Nyla Blackman at the time.
Right.
And at the time, she had a song, it's called A Cigarette. It was a song, and she's playing her guitar.
Right.
And I remember shooting, we shot all day in Shagaramas in this like deserted building, because they wanted like a street vibe. And that was the first time I met Nyla Blackman. And she and I, we were kids. We were like real milk in my face kind of thing. And the commercial aired on Channel 3. And my father is watching the news and is seeing his daughter in a original BU Malta ad, and I there on some tables, and they had people in the crowd, because they hired like people to like cheer us on, and then Nyla comes on, and then my dad is just like, but that's who's that?
Yeah.
And I think after that, his whole tone changed. Like it went from where you going this hour to, so what shows they have this weekend?
Wow.
So okay. So who is this promoter? And so on. And then he started to show interest, and I was shocked. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And I think since then, I mean, I've always had support from, my family's huge, so cousins, friends, and the opportunities that I've gotten over the years. I could say that I built a really good support system, which is so essential, especially in such a cutthroat industry, because if you don't have that kind of support, you're gonna feel so lost and alone. And I mean, I did that at one point, because I actually had quit DJing for a year, and this is in the middle of UE, because I felt at the time that this wasn't really making any sense. I'm not really getting the respect that I deserve, or any kind of recognition. And I'm talking as far as just getting my name on an artwork for a gig that I'm playing on is an issue, or just getting like a picture on, or even getting paid. And I knew at the time that you can't go into this industry thinking about money, that yes, you have to more or less expose yourself, you have to get the experience. But after a while, it started to feel like, I don't think I'm gonna really go much further than this, because there's a lot of, misogyny, men.
It's so funny you say that.
It's a turn off. It's a real turn off.
It's very funny you say that. For two reasons. One, I saw somebody post a question in the comments just now, which I'll get to very shortly, because that actually is a great segue into the next part of the conversation I want to have. Two, the one thing I take away from the three of you all, and this is something that I want everybody tuning in to always keep in mind, support really does go a long way, right? People feel that sometimes when you are doing your thing, it might not necessarily mean that somebody have to go and book an artist that Adana representing, or it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to hire Charlotte for that party, or you have to book Imani for that event that's coming up. But it might be a simple thing as just, as we like to say, the simple things like reposting what you're doing, or even just sending a message to say, hey, listen to your song, I really liked it, I listened to your song, this XYZ, but giving that kind of feedback, and sometimes just knowing that there are people that are so interested in what that you're doing, that they are feeling emboldened to reach out to you and let you know that you're not operating in a vacuum. And that's something that's very, very important from the three of you all that I want everybody to take away from the conversation. I wanted to hold that thought, Charlotte. As you guys know, we are sponsored by Travi. So I need to take a quick Travi pickup. When I come back from the pickup, I want to get to the question, and I'll start with Imani and come back around, and we'll get some views on that, right? So let me just take that quick Travi pickup. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back, people inside the Creative Collective Podcast. The present is female. And as I said throughout the course of the night, if you guys have any questions or comments that you want to ask, you can hit us up in any of the platforms that you're looking at us at, and we'll get to the comments during the course of the night. If you're on GMGT's Twitch page, we'll also get to some of those comments as the night progresses as well. So I saw this question coming from Mark, and he says, DJ Charlotte brought up her dad, which reminds me of a question. I want to ask, women are hypersexualized in the entertainment industry. Do you all feel pressured to fit a sexy mold? Let me start with Imani first and then go back around to Dana.
I don't feel pressured into the sexy mold. It's just my personality. I've always felt that way, even like at 16, but like couldn't express it because obviously it's just not appropriate at that age. But I always felt that internally. So as I got older, I didn't even start expressing myself in that way till I was like 23. So I didn't even do it 20, 21, 22. It was kind of around 23 and up when I started, just kind of expressing myself more in a sexy manner. But it was tough for my mom to kind of come around with that. And my mom is super supportive. She used to be my manager. So and I think that's why even when she was managing me during that age, I was kind of like, kind of reserved. Like, I don't think mommy would like that. Right. But when we went our separate ways, business-wise, is when I started, kind of expressing myself the way I want to. So yeah, it's not about pressure because it's just something that was just me.
Right.
So that's just my take on it.
Charlotte, what is your take on that?
I think in the beginning, in the early, I felt like it was necessary to have a sexy mold, but I think that was because I lacked a lot of confidence. I lacked a lot of self-esteem. I didn't think that I was like the sexy kind or the sexy mold. So I felt like I had to kind of put on this, this front that the sexy DJ. But then, after when I was like, I'm not really being me, I had to create my own style in an industry where most women are usually hypersexualized, So it had to start with gaining confidence in myself, self-esteem. And then from there, I was able to create my own style. And I would wear what I want. And I always think this way, where I don't think I'm dressing sexy. I feel like if I look good, I feel good. If I feel good, I play good. And if I play good, they pay good, and that's how I always look. And that's how I used to be like, I gonna step out. There's gonna be times where I want to wear some nice heels and I want to look really, really glam. And then there's some times where I will come out in an oversized tee and some sneakers and whatever it is I'm coming out, I have to make sure that I'm comfortable. Please. I'm not gonna step on a stage and feel like I shouldn't be wearing this. I should be worried about, my boobies popping out or maybe they're staring at my bottom, like things like that. Like, no, I'm going to wear what I want and feel good in it regardless. So I've learned to create my own style, and I personally don't care about that anymore. I used to, but after years in this industry, if you keep thinking, you know, I should be sexy all the time, I don't think it's gonna help your career. I think people are just gonna end up just judging you even more, or you know, sexualizing you even more, and I would never want that.
Yeah. Adana, I want to ask you the same question, but I also want to add a little bit of layer on it, because as we know, you represent a couple artists, obviously Patrice Roberts, and you know, Patrice is seen as by many as a sex symbol in not just Trinidad and Tobago, but the Caribbean in general. Comment on Mark's question in terms of do you think that women within the industry are pressured to fit that sexy mold? And as somebody that usually tells a narrative of a performer or artist, how do you go about then kind of advising them, especially if it is that they're trying to develop a particular type of image for themselves and they're not too sure where they want to go?
Okay, so firstly, for me, as far as that sexy image, I just purely do whatever I feel to do on whatever given day. So depending on what the event requires, generally, if it's all inclusive, if it's a business related something, I dress for that occasion. But comfort is usually like my first priority. So because it's fast paced for me, so I just need to make sure that I represent myself first, because I am a voice that also represents other people. So what they get from me is also what they would perceive of the people that I represent. You know, quite frankly, like I always have conversations like with Patrice or Kerwin or anybody, and I'll be like, you know, if I out here doing some shit, right, they're gonna say, even if it's on my own time, they automatically say, oh, Adana who works with Patrice, or Adana who works with Kerwin. It's not just Adana, Asson, you know. They then tie it into the brand. So I'm always like extra careful about, you know, the way that I go about doing things, right? So that ties into the way that I present myself.
Yeah.
Image-wise. As far as Patrice is concerned, of course, everybody has seen that her image has evolved over the years, and that changed as she became more and more certain of herself. So usually when she gives her story, you know, she would talk about, you know, growing up in Togo, a sheltered country girl, her mom being Muslim, and her having to operate in certain parameters where she wasn't allowed to wear shorts, and she wasn't allowed to, you know, like being so sexy, and also not being very certain about what her level of sexy should be. And then when she went into, of course, she had the islands, and then quickly transitioned into what was HD. And even going into HD and trying to figure out, how should I dress? How should I present myself? What should I do? Because now all these eyes are on me, and I'm so uncomfortable with it, because she really was super uncomfortable with all these stares. All she knew is that she just wanted to sing. You know, she just always wanted to sing. That's all she wanted to do when she gives the story. Like, she's never done anything else other than sing. You know, like some people would be like, oh, you know what? I worked for 5 years before I discovered. She literally went from calypso, transitioning into soca, straightway into, you know, what people would call mainstream success.
Success, yeah.
Right. So for her transition was growing into her own type of womanhood. And that's why people would have seen that level of progression. Some people come into a situation like very certain almost immediately, because they probably had time to work and kind of perfect how they feel and how they want to be perceived. She really didn't have that opportunity because of her background. As I said, her mom being Muslim and having to, you know, operate in certain parameters. She'll give this story. Sometimes she in a little long skirt with her short pants underneath it, and she run and hide and take off this skirt to go do her thing, because she, you know, she wanted to but wasn't really sure. So with me, I always tell people, you know, on brands that I represent, like, do the level of sexiness that's comfortable with for you. Because quite frankly, like, okay, if you're selling sexy, then sell sexy. But just understand that it comes with a certain level of scrutiny, and you have to know how far you want to go. I like to feel as though in a lot of instances, your talent should really speak for you. So there should be a balance. You know, I feel as though it's really unfair for an artist, a female, to put herself in a situation where the first thing people automatically think about is, yeah, I want to tap that ass, you know. When it's all well and fine for people to feel as though, oh, you're within grasp, and they may earn for having you as, oh, the sex symbol. It shouldn't just be that you're just trying to show your body every single time if there's no merit as far as talent is concerned. Yeah. So sometimes I kind of try to tell people, like, you know how to toe the line. I am sometimes conservative, but sometimes not conservative. Like Patrice knows her level of sexiness. You know, even sometimes, like, she might be looking at something, I should be like, you like this? Kind of sexy. You know what? I think I like this outfit, but I'll edit it a little bit because I feel like I might have a slip or a nip, or, I mean, she had her breast fall out once, you know, and that was, and that was one of the things that I always wished would never happen. Like, I had a list of things that I'm scared about happening, and that boob fell out.
Yeah, she had a Janet Jackson moment.
But you know what? The amount of positives that came with that nip slip, I was like, man, I knew that you needed to free the nipple so long ago to get like 10,000 followers in 1 week. I would have told you to release those status.
you know, I just said, I want to stick with that point. Because that's something that I find always very amusing. So prepared for this conversation, obviously I'm going to go through social media profiles. So Charlotte, as I said, I'll go through Charlotte's profile. I went through your profile. I went through Imani's profile as well. How much of the persona, let me throw this to Imani first. How much of the persona that you place on social media really represents you? Or is it like there is a Imani Ray and then there's a Imani, well, the last name that we say that we'll only say once a night. So how much of your social media presence does it represent? And what I say to that, do you find it fascinating or daunting curating your social media presence, given everything that Adana was just talking about?
I know. I tone it down actually. And because I'm definitely way more spicier as a person. And I'm in the sense of my attitude is a little bit more spicy. And I'm not always so happy. So I kind of, you know, try to, you know, tone it down a little bit, because not many people can handle my spiciness. Like, I'm told all the time I have a smart mouth, and I definitely tone that down on social media, because there are times where people say, you know, negative all the time and things that me as a person, what I really want to say, I know I shouldn't say because it could definitely come back around. So I try to watch little things like that. But it's pretty on point. Like, I'm the same person. I'm not faking the funk. It's not a facade. It's me, just a nicer version of me.
Gotcha.
The PG version.
Gotcha. But Charlotte, I know you were saying that your kind of presence on social media has kind of evolved. And it's so funny, like the three of you all, right? Like, again, we like to do our research on the podcast. So photos I saw of Imani from like 2012 and 13 that end up on these random websites is like, whoa, okay, this is from 2012. And it's like, oh, okay, this is her now. You understand? And well, Charlotte understands that there are certain photos that we burn in the annals of social media and we never really pull out. You understand? Because, and just you know, I'm gonna take this forward. I'll go and take this forward tonight. I'm glad to say that Charlotte was actually one of my earlier supporters in my DJ career. So we have multiple pictures of Charlotte wearing T-shirts of Redymix DMT from college days.
It's true.
But as I say, some of them kind of unfavorable, so we kind of had to burn them. I have them, but I would never show them.
I was before the braces.
Exactly.
It was low.
Exactly. Do you face that same? I mean, as the same question I posed to Imani, the same question I'll pose to you, Charlotte. Do you find it daunting, or is it that you're fascinated in how to curate now your social media presence?
I try to be as real as possible on social media, off social media, because I mean, at one point I wanted to go by an alias, Charlie C. So the idea of that was for people to think that it's a guy.
So whatever burner.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of stomp people, you know.
Right.
Thinking is a man on his stage,
Right,
but it's not.
It's not a man, right.
And no lie, throughout my career, I can't tell you how many times people have told me, and I know they don't mean it in an offensive way, but it's like, listen, I thought it was a man on that stage, the way you was juggling, the way you was throwing on tunes, and I'm just like, now I look back, I'm like, why would you just assume that as a man? Like, a woman could do a man's job, if not better, you know? And I mean, nothing wrong with thinking that, but I would just laugh at it now. But my personality, I try to stay, I really try. I'm just me. And I thought, you know, I'm not going to go by any alias, Charlie C or Poison Ivy. Traveling had suggested that I call myself Poison Ivy. Yeah, random. Yeah. But I'm Traveling. But no, I was like, you know, if I'm going to be anybody, I'm going to be Charlotte. DJ Charlotte. I like my name. I like who I am. And I've grown to love myself over the years. I mean, back in the days, I didn't. So when I think of, you know, I'm gonna look sexy, is because I feel confident. I finally have the confidence to step out and dress up and say, you know, I reach. I'm on the stage. Look at me, you know. So I try to keep it 100. In everything.
It's funny that you said, sorry to cut you across, but it's like, and listen, just see three of you all, and especially with you speak about struggling with confidence in yourself, even though so many people thought that you were extremely talented from such a long period of time, right?
And I didn't. I honestly thought I was okay. And I always thought, you know, there's more to learn. I need to practice more. So that's why I put so much effort into building a foundation, a really solid foundation as a DJ, to not just be a pretty face or somebody who just there for the hype. Like, I wanted to be known as a DJ that knows her shit, knows her music, treats it like a craft, practices all the time, puts music, and it doesn't matter where you put her in the party, she's going to understand the assignment. You know, that I really, really focused on that. And at one point I focused on a lot more than my image. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I actually have an image now. And I need to balance the two. I need to balance on being good at what I do. And I also need to balance on having an image that I am comfortable with and that people are aware of, and that there's no kind of misunderstanding, you know. That's why I try to be myself. Be who I am, show my personality in like little bits, whether it's in my captions or how I play, you know, just simple things like that. The way I dress, the way, you know, when people speak to me, and just like Imani, I just honestly, people are out to time, right? They're always gonna have out to time people are always gonna say something. I don't even want to show them my DMs. I really don't even check that at all anymore because the things that some people say are like really like, okay. But I choose to ignore that. And if anybody really jumps out this out and says something really offensive publicly, I'm not gonna shut you up.
Yeah. Funny
enough, it's not worth my time.
Funny enough, there's a question I have here about that same thing I will get to in a bit. But I really want to try to get to some of the questions that people are sending online. Okay. Let me start with Adana, go back to Imani, and we'll end with Charlotte. Adana, if you had to change anything in the past that you knew better now, what would that be? Example, experiences or decisions?
For me, I always say that it took me a little longer to get to where I am now. So I really wish that if I'm given the opportunity to go back, I would have been more certain at that time that this is what I wanted to do. Right. Because I believe with more time, you know, you just have more opportunities to get more things done. And I'm like a stickler for, oh my God, I don't have enough time. You know, and sometimes it might give me like a little mini anxiety, like, oh my God, we don't have enough time. So that would be it. I would also say like being like way more assertive. Like I'm very assertive now, but there were instances where it was just kind of like, okay, I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want anybody to call me a bitch. You're concerned about, the stereotypes that women get when they're overly assertive, right? As soon as a woman is in a position where she is very certain, very concise, very direct, there are these negative connotations that are placed on us when it comes to being descriptive, right? So I always try to kind of like toe the line. So now it's like if I have something to say, I'm very respectful, but I'm gonna say it, and you're going to understand, and you're not going to disrespect me. So it took me a little time. Like my mentor, my friend who started me in the industry, Natasha, bless her heart, she's Lyrical's manager. She was one of the first people who'd be like, "Oh my God, Adana, why are you you're always so sweet? Like, just tell them exactly how you feel." Because I'm out here being so kind and so concise. And even though I'm like in the background, be like, "Okay, well, I understand. I apologize." She'd be like, "No, don't apologize. Like, tell them go F off. You understand? Like, tell them straight up, this is what it is." She said, because if you're consistently apologetic for doing the correct things, people are going to continue playing you for a fool. Like, don't do that. So I've gotten to the stage of saying exactly how I feel, saying what I mean. And of course, like in a lot of situations, I chose to dumb myself down, right? On purpose as well, right? Sometimes it was kind of forced into dumbing yourself down. But sometimes, like, I really did dumb myself down on purpose because at times we're in an industry where all the players are not very smart, or they think that they're way smarter than you. So in order to maneuver through certain instances, it's like, okay, let me just play dumb and let's see which game they're gonna try today.
I find this extremely powerful conversation because again, it gives everybody the kind of insight into the thought processes of you guys. And I'm not even just going to say from a woman's perspective, but just because the thoughts that you guys have are thoughts that everybody has. But I think that you are very open in expressing it tonight in that way. Imani, what about you? Is there anything that you have changed in the past that you know better now, that you have changed from before because of your experiences now?
Definitely the two things Adana touched on, I was gonna say, but also another part is dimming my light to make other people feel comfortable. I used to do that so much when I was younger, and as I got older, it kind of reached a point where it's like, this is not making sense. Like, I shouldn't have to dim my light because of someone else projecting their insecurities on me. And as a woman, that could be a little bit tough because you don't want other women to feel intimidated by you, or like, and so I struggled with that for a very, very long time. And I feel like it kind of did hinder me. But now that I know better, I definitely don't do that. But if I could have started that from early, would have been great. So yeah, I don't think any woman should dim their light for anybody, whether it be woman or man, because it really does something for you as a person internally. Like, I just always feel like it's important for you to just be you and be you 1,000%. Because when you start dimming your light is when you start caring about what everybody else thinks, and then you may miss out on your own opportunities. So yeah, I just feel like everyone should shine bright and don't dim their light for anybody.
Yeah. Charlotte, quickly, do you have about you anything that you'd have changed based on your experiences now?
I used to that I should have probably taken this a lot more serious earlier, when I was much younger. But then I think the vision of me now would say, no, nothing before it's time. And I feel like everything that I've been through, every experience, whether it was good, bad, it has led me to be exactly where I am today. And I wouldn't change that at all. So I think I don't really have much regrets. I wouldn't change anything. I was supposed to go through all of these hurdles and experiences, whether it took long, didn't matter. But I feel like I was meant to go through all of these things to be where I am now in this lovely panel talking about.
I funny
The
said because I said
presidency.
I'm looking at the comments and some of the women who are tuning in tonight, they are so impressed just with the openness by you guys to speak about the experiences like this, which is always something I wanted to accomplish by this podcast. Just before I take the next traffic pickup, it's so interesting with the three of you all, the whole concept of the challenges that you go through in life, thinking at that point in time that the road has come to end, where in truth and in fact it might be just beginning in a different part of your life. And
Correct.
I mean, I have myself, I'm very open with people about my own journey and my own challenges, which I still go through to this day. But I'm very glad for the support system of people that are around me to remind me that, look, the journey has just started, or it may have ended in one spot, but it started in something else. And if you look at Imani's experience, as she said, when she was younger, she used to dim her light. Now Imani shines bright like a diamond. Yes, that Charlotte at a point in time, you of yourself looked at yourself in a particular way, and you spoke about not being confident in your personality. And now you have grown into somebody who is not just confident in your personality, but confident in the person who you are and where you want to be. And Adana had to be the person who, again, doing all the different things that she was doing and trying to dumb down herself. And now she representing the person that drinking water and minding she business. So the point I'm making is that all in all, the challenges and the struggles that you all have gone through continue to push you to the point where you are and push you to go further in your careers. And I mean, I tell people I learn things every single time from these conversations, and just the unison of experiences that you three have just expressed has helped me profoundly tonight, and that's something that I'm taking personally to myself. You understand? But again, that's a different story for another day. I want to take a quick traffic pickup. When we come back, I'm going to come to the Bacchanal party conversation, which is not really Bacchanal, right? But at the same point in time, I'm going to come back to that after this Travi pickup, all right?
I've been using Travi from day one, and let me tell you, I have not had the need for any other rideshare service. The app is very simple and easy to use. I like that I can schedule my ride days in advance and not have to wait on the day for a driver to accept my ride. Travi has made my life so much easier. I definitely recommend Travi to anyone.
Somebody's got to get Imani a coat inside there, man. Somebody's got to get you a coat. All right, so once again, people, we are powered by Travi. Thank you guys so much for being with us for the night. I'm here once again with DJ Charlotte, Adana Asson, and Imani Ray. And when I usually do this conversation, first of all, I never take it for granted that I'm talking to three women. And I like to actually bounce things off of certain people within my circle. So I want to say shout out to Kavi, Nariba, and a couple of my friends from Zale. And one of the questions that always comes up in this creative space for you independent, powerful women is the idea of relationships, right? So I go and throw out a question. I don't know who go and bite it first. I'll just see who will bite it first. So I'll throw the question, which actually came up in our conversation last night. I had a nice little panel with two of my friends, and we actually came up with some stuff where this conversation is concerned. So I want to say, first of all, do you believe that women entrepreneurs, especially those in entertainment, have a greater challenge in finding or being in relationships? Whoever wants to go first. I ain't calling no names. Yes. I gotta save everybody there. I All right, go ahead.
I would say my significant other is not in the industry, right? And it is a safe place for me, right? And I've fraternized in the past with industry, not heavy industry places, but people associated with the industry. Yeah.
Right.
Nothing serious, though, but my significant other is not in the industry. Does he understand the industry very well? Very, very well. And there are times where sometimes I would say to him, I wish if you were, because sometimes it makes sense in certain instances. but I would say that it's a very safe place.
Right.
You know, where at the end of the day, you have other conversations that you can have that are conversations that are outside of what we both would know if we're in the same industry.
Right.
You know, so it's not always heavy, you know, where you're experiencing the same things all the time. So for me, I would say that I've never really felt pressure to be like, okay, well, you know, it must be a situation in the industry or anything like that. I mean, I'm down for whatever, you know, if the person is in the industry and it's a good fit, then by all means, you have to find a way to make that separation and make it work. But for me, it's a safe place for him not to be in the industry.
It's very funny you said that first thing off the bat. I was saying, because one of the things that came up in the conversation last night with my two friends, we were speaking about Rihanna, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the example I was giving is that Rihanna is one of the biggest artists of all time. So the joke I give is that Rihanna is not going to come to Trinidad and just fall off for a guy living in Chaguanas, by a house in Chaguanas, right? And I said that because a lot of times when you look at people in entertainment, it is sometimes expected, this is both for men and women, that depending on your stature of, you know, what you are in the entertainment industry, you're supposed to have somebody who kind of matching that in terms of probably look and what they're involved in and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I found that very interesting.
Sometimes it's very conflicting, and I just want to ask.
It is.
You're at a stage in your career where you have the highest standing, right? Or you're more elite in that field, and your significant other is below you, which is the word I don't really want to use the word.
Yeah, we understand what I mean, not below, but I understand.
Yeah,
right,
but he or she is not.
I'm trying
to choose my words.
The man not below. He's not below. He's not. Let me not use below. Let us just say he's at a different parallel level.
A different stage in his
yes,
career.
A different stage. Right. Please, son.
If I learn know why I laugh.
He or she's at a different stage in their career, then it becomes sometimes with men. I've heard so many conversations where the man feels severely emasculated. There are the constant comparisons when he and his significant other are in the same industry, and people are like, well, your girl this, and you know, and then it's almost like that person is an afterthought, because when they call for the significant other who is of higher profile,
look how man, he's smiling in the corner there. I'm waiting to hear the man. I'm just waiting to hear the answers from the others.
Yeah,
but
sometimes it doesn't work. If you're at different levels, if that person is not very secure in themselves, because I've seen it in instances with people around me. I've heard stories, friends of friends who, you know, people talk very candidly in front of me because, you know, I don't say anything. So I've seen where there are issues when you're at two different stages in your career. And I'm done. I'm going to give Charlotte because I can ramble on. So your turn, Charlotte.
Wait, she just passed the baton to you. I was going to go the next way, but since the baton has been passed, DJ Charlotte,
laughter, so I really want to hear this.
Jumping at the
you were just ringing so many bells, like ding, ding.
Come, Charlotte, over here.
I mean, I'm not gonna call names, obviously, but I have had experiences with people in the same industry as I am, and I 100% agree with you. Because I mean, you know, these saying, you know, eat where you shit.
Good.
You know that. And I don't mean this in like a really bad way, but I mean, I've had my share of experiences, and when you're in the same industry as your partner, you know, just as you said, if they are not secure with who they are, then they're gonna just take that out on you. And I have had that experience. And I've learned my lesson. And personally, I prefer to not engage or get involved with anybody in the industry that I am, based on my past experiences. And I mean, it gets quite messy and I just prefer to have a separation of the two, and just what you said, safe zone. Like, you want to be able to come home to somebody that is not going to view you as a threat. And that's how it was when I was with the system. I think that they really saw my success and I was growing, and because they weren't growing on the same level as I was, and they were in the industry longer than I was, we butt heads, and I never thought that I would be with somebody. The person is my significant other, and they see me as like a threat, and they're jealous. Like, to me, that was so confusing and conflicting, and I don't ever want to go through that experience like ever again. I mean, I'm not saying that everybody is that way, but I just feel like it's better to not really dabble in the same industry where there has to be some sort of familiarity between you and your partner. I think I prefer in my industry in particular, the DJ world and the entertainment industry, I just personally feel like it's better to have everybody as, arm's length with a certain level of respect, so that people don't get the wrong idea when, you're socializing or you're talking to somebody, like, I ain't going through that,
All right, Charlotte. All right.
I'm not going through that.
All right. I get a point.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Imani Ray, I was going to go to you second, though, but Adana passed the baton to Charlotte. You understand? She was, So, Imani, tell us. Do you think it's more challenging to be in a relationship as a woman in entertainment? You so remind me of Teddy John there. I remember having this conversation with Teddy John. It's like, so Teddy, what do you think about relationships? And he's like, I don't know, Shomari. I don't know.
The truth is, honestly, like, I want to say my first real relationship, like, outside of the whole high school thing, I noticed, like, I was not really being myself. And again, because of the insecurities being projected on me. And so I just felt like I was just lost. And I reached a point, it honestly took me going to Trinidad to break up with him and be like, yo, I cannot do this. I don't want to.
Because she come Trinidad and she went off it. She went off it. She wind on in that fit and she's like, you know what? I ain't doing this again. No.
Shomari, come down from there. Come down.
I was liming with my grandfather actually, and I did get a little tipsy, and he messaged me something, and I felt like, yo, that's it. I don't want no part of this. I'm done. And from there, I always promised myself I wouldn't jump into a next relationship because I would use, a few years to just get to know myself. I was definitely open to dating to figure out what I do like, what I don't like. But most importantly, I just wanted to focus on my career, because when I was in that relationship, I didn't have time to really 100% focus on that, because I had to deal with him wanting me to support him as a DJ and things like that. And it was clashing, and I wasn't getting that support as an artist. So I took so much time on focusing on me and being an artist that I don't even know what relationships are, because it gives me anxiety.
But
I've been single so long. The thought of a relationship gives me anxiety.
I kind of understand where you're coming from. I just think it's just not, like I said, you're not going through that.
All right,
now you understand.
That's what
why go through this stress?
So the idea of a relationship gives the two of you, because Adana, you safe. Adana, she's safe zone, right? Sorry, wrong side. Adana, she's safe zone right now. That's the safe zone, right? You're the safe zone. right?
Honestly, to have a relationship like that in this 2022 is golden. Okay, it's so rare because
Hey, I did not call it perfect.
now we ain't say perfect, but it is something to.
So-
it is rare. It's
So
rare.
we could say if this is the Savannah, Adana, you in the pods right now, right? you in the pods right
Imani
now.
and I are in the grandstand.
So then Charlotte, I'll ask the question, right? Because again, this is part of the conversation I had last night with these two ladies. What do you consider important to having a partner?
A whole heap of understanding, because in my industry, being a female DJ, there needs to be a certain level of understanding. And when I say that, I mean like my hours are not the typical work hours. There are going to be times where I may not answer your call or respond immediately, and I need you to not make any assumptions, because it's easy to make those kinds of assumptions. I'm a female DJ, male-dominated industry, most of them, if not all my colleagues are men, so there's going to be a certain level of understanding and security, like you ought to be sure that, you ought to know that I'm not out there making a fool out of you, and you are not making a fool out of me. And I think it's as simple as that, as simple as understanding that. I feel like from there, we could work on anything else. I don't have a huge list of things that I look for in a man. I really don't. Like, there's basic things that I expect and that I would give in return. So I'm man bashing.
So a regular, so I gave the example of Rihanna earlier, right? Right. So a regular Joe Schmo who nothing anything, right?
I mean, it don't have to be a regular Joe Schmo, but I wouldn't really go after like Drake, Or, like,
shoot your shot. You want Drake?
No, I don't. No. I've seen firsthand, how men are, not all, obviously. But
please and thanks.
No,
please
because
and
I want to make this very clear. I'm not here to bash men.
Thank you.
There are great men that I have met in the industry that are married, that have kids, that are in relationships, that are loyal, that are faithful.
I appreciate it. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Right? Big up all you.
Thanks.
Most of the time, when
some of the time,
okay, fine. Some of the time.
Thanks.
Some of the time, it's clear as day that it's gonna be very difficult to find sometimes a good man in this industry that is gonna be faithful to you, that isn't gonna embarrass you, make a fool out of you, because I've seen it happen. I've been in one. So it's more a matter of being smart about your choices. It doesn't necessarily have to be a regular Joe. For me, it could be, I choose to stay away from my own industry. So I guess anybody else in another industry, I ain't really going to pick and choose at this point. You know what I mean? So
understood.
We're not going to turn this entire,
because I have a point to make about that, but I'll make that last, because I want to get Imani's point on this quickly.
Yes.
Since Imani was the one that raised anxiety when it comes on to this. So, do you of yourself, what do you consider important to a partner? And I will say this, just to expand on the question a little bit, especially at this point in time in your life, because I think all of us could say that the type of individual that we would have wanted to be with 10 years ago, 5 years ago, probably even 2 years ago, is not the type of individual that you probably choose to have in your life now. And I do understand the point of being having anxiety when it comes to relationships, because I have a friend, Clyde, who used to say that relationship PTSD is a real thing, right? But at the same point in time, I do believe that as you've grown in your career, the conceptualization of what you would have wanted in somebody, in a partner, would have been different now. That is a couple of years ago. So for you, what do you consider important to having a partner at this point in time?
Must be secure within yourself, because I just don't want to babysit somebody that's insecure. That's me. I don't want to deal with that. Also, honesty. I just feel like I'll just be like honest, just be real. Because my thing is, I'm a very understanding person. Even in the most toughest situations, I feel like I handle it pretty maturely versus how they're accustomed to women handling it. It's not to say I wouldn't get mad, but I wouldn't do something outrageous, it's like slash your tires or whatever. Just be honest, because
cut them tires, man.
Me and I find out you are lying, then I will slash your tires. But
that is already a
Hold on.
You see?
The honest,
talk about slashing tires.
Imani, they're recording your girls.
This going after you, see?
I'm so
down from there, Imani. Come down.
Come down.
No. To me, and it's crazy because my mom used to say it to us all the time, like how honest, like just being honest. If we're dishonest with her, it would drive her so crazy. And it's like, why do you? It's too much. But now as I'm getting older, I feel like I'm becoming like a mini Roxanne. Like just be honest with me. I cannot take the lying thing. And I think that's why relationships give me back. Because we can't even get past the honesty part.
Stop lying.
I mean, Shomari, I know you're saying not all of it, but man.
Well, that's what I will say. This is what
a lot of them they disappointing you. They're giving y'all a bad news.
This is what I'll say. I want to say this quickly too, so we could go to the final Travi, pick up on the final question for that. I have had the unfortunate experience of being the one on the side of being lied to on multiple occasions in my life. Right? I've also had the unfortunate experience of being that guy who was doing a lot of these things that you all were saying and not getting it in return. And I came to the realization at some point in time that as much as it is that you'd like to say it's a man thing, and I would understand that from your experiences, it really boils down to just being a human thing. You just have to be a human person, a good person. I have this friend in New York who told me, I remember asking her, the same question I'm asking you guys, like, where's really look for in somebody? And the person responded and told me, you just have to be good. And I thought that to be a real simplistic answer. But then when I really started to look at her life experiences and understand what she wanted out of a relationship, I realized that even good people could make mistakes. But at the same point in time, if it is that you know that they are good to their core, you might feel more confident in giving that the amount of attention due than just saying, well, because I do believe that sometimes you kind of know the devil you sleep with. So if you know you go and get with somebody that is trouble, you kind of know where you're getting yourself into. But as humans, we have the tendency, well, you're a little bad, but I like how you look or something or whatever. Because I do believe, and it's the same thing with men, I do believe that all of us as human beings have that one thing that even though we might feel at the point in time this might not necessarily be good for us, there's a part of that individual that appeals to you in a particular way that actually is a side that you should not take on as much. So this is the part, let's just say, let's call her name, just like Imani, she might see something in the guy that she knows is no good, that one part of it is no good, but there's a part of herself, that little part of herself, somewhere quite in the back there, that appeals to, and she'll say, you know what, you want to go with that organic feeling now, which might not necessarily be the right thing for you. So what I'm saying is that I look at it and I understand that, yes, it may be, you guys have had your bad experiences, and I am not negating that experience at all. But I will also say that there are good fellas out here that is get thrown in the back of the bus further than Rosa Parks. And we still have to do it.
Also, being in this industry kind of makes us unapproachable sometimes. I've seen that happen, as a woman in a male-dominated industry. There's all kind of assumptions, or they feel like a certain level of intimidation, and they probably just assume, well, probably have a man, you know, like I'm not even gonna bother. Just like how they say shoot my shot with Drake, like you know, it's kind of like
That's a real shot, huh? That's a real shot.
not at it. But you know, it's kind of like the same thing because I mean, we all have a certain level of being in the public eye, and people tend to assume a lot of things. And sometimes I used to think that I have a doppelganger out there because I used to be hearing things about me, like Charlotte have a man, and Charlotte with this one, and Charlotte have that. And I'm like, let's have another Charlotte out there because that's not, I don't know. I mean, I could be as real and upfront, but people are always going to make assumptions. So I think that kind of either turns off men, or the good ones just don't really bother, you know. They probably just say, you know what, she probably with somebody already, or she probably had no time to be with anybody right now.
I know I need to take my pickup.
I know somebody could
Atiba, I know I need to take my pickup, but I
always get the, you don't seem like you have time. You're always busy. It's like
busy.
Are you my planner? Like, I don't understand. But go ahead.
But I know I need to take the pickup, but I gotta ask this question quickly. I want to get a quick answer from the three of you. And I'll still include Safe Zone. Remember, Adana's in the pods, right? So she in the pods.
Adana living
right? Adana in the pods, right?
Me sound so boring. Like my
life is Adana, we trying to get to the pods too.
So my question.
The time you want to be in the grandstand.
So given the fact that you and Imani have gone through emotional PTSD, if there was a good guy that came, no, serious, it's a serious
I can't
question,
even call it that anymore because I learned not to take
right. Okay,
like
but
hurt people, you know.
But do you think that if a good guy was to come in front of Lap, you'd be able to see it at this point in time?
Yes, I think so. I think I've learned to forgive Imani.
Hey, I love Imani. Imani is the greatest. It's Imani facial expressions that kill me.
I probably had the PTSD and all that stuff, but I've learned to let things go. I've learned to forgive and move on. And I think at this point, I am still deserving of a good person because I am a good person and I have a lot to offer. So if somebody comes to me genuine, upfront, you know, then yeah, I would give that person a try.
So I'm looking down at Imani. We're looking down because we saw you shake your head. So you know, as a matter of fact, we saw you shaking your head. So listen, let's bring you up on the screen here. So tell us, I mean, if there was a good guy, would you be able to give the guy a shot? Because we always talk about good guys that finish last. So would you be able to identify that there's a good guy trying to shoot a shot?
But that's how bad my PTSD is. And it's so sad. Like, I would be overthinking it, and like, I don't know if he's a good guy. Maybe he's not. This is too good to be true. Like, I'm an overthinker, and I just don't trust men. And the crazy part is, I know there's good men out there. I'm not saying no, and I'm not bashing men at all. It's just that my experiences have made it so hard for me to trust and like really trust, like, okay, this guy is a good guy or this guy is the one for me. I'm always like, I don't know. So I have a lot of work to do on myself, honestly. And that's one thing about me. Like, I'm never afraid to say, okay, it's me. Like, I really, and not to be like, use that as a cop out, but like, okay, this is my problem. I really need to work on this. How can I do this better? Not just for myself, but whoever I do eventually, you know, get involved with. But they could become my safe space, because right now,
I also feel like when you stop looking is when, you know, is when you focus on you and you just do what you ought to do. The right person will come and say it, like, and that's how I think of it. I try not to worry about this.
There's why I said to close off this point, because I want to get to the final segment for tonight. I think for a lot of people who've been looking on, wondering why we spent probably last 15 minutes discussing this, is because at the end of the day, the bottom line is that I have a fundamental belief that even if that point in time in your life, you might not necessarily feel that you are in line to have a relationship. Everybody at some point in time wants to be loved. And the truth and fact is that that linkage of love that runs through life is the one constant that goes with everybody. It just happens at different times. And the truth and fact is that, yeah, we make a joke about relationship PTSD, but the truth and fact is that when you do go through situations in life, it changes your perspective on how you deal with situations. And I mean, as much as Imani might be saying what she's saying, I still look at it as she has this just said in herself that she's taking that time right now to figure out how to reach back to that trust factor for yourself, right? Charlotte of herself, she went through a particular experience. She is now at a particular point in her life. And she, as I always tell people, like when you get comfortable at a certain point, you want to make sure that you maintain that peace. So if anybody have to come into that space right now, or as we like to say with Adana, if anybody has to come now into the pod, right, they have to make sure and come and keep the peace that you worked so hard over a particular period of time to get, you know, because I used to tell people going through like one of my past breakups that I used to just ask God for peace. I never used to ask God to we get back together or whatever, or whatnot. And Charlotte actually knows this story. You understand? So, you know, I never used to ask people to, you know, well, was she back? And we had to get married and we had children to make. No, my whole thing was I wanted peace for myself. Because I felt if I had peace, I always tell people that after God and love, peace is the third most important in your life, right? Because God is love, and you need to have peace to be able to make the three work. You understand? So that's just my belief on it. But this is a very interesting discussion. Let me take the quick Travi pickup, and I have one more segment to get into before we close off tonight. I'm seeing Mark is asking about saying, Shomari, you talk about relationships almost every episode of the podcast. So gosh. Let me just take my Travi pickup and come back. I'm not able.
Don't you wish you can go grocery shopping without the hassle of leaving your homes and avoiding crowds? Well, I've got news for you. Let me introduce you to Travi Shop. Travi Shop offers grocery delivery straight to your front door using the Massey Stores app. Make life easy with Travi.
All right, inside our final segment for the night, inside the Creative Collective Podcast tonight, right, with Safe Zone Adana, DJ Charlotte, and Imani Ray. I want to ask you guys something, because this is also a question that came to me again. I consult so many people in this discussion, and I once again want to thank the three of you guys for being so open and honest in the discussion tonight. Earlier we spoke about social media, and it was revealed a couple of weeks ago the ties, or not even a couple of weeks ago, but longer before that, the ties that social media has towards mental illness and the challenges that come out of mental illness with social media. I told my team when I started this podcast that I really don't want to deal with the social media part of it, because that takes me away from focusing on what I need to focus on, which is the conversation itself. And I always want to make sure the conversation is very interesting. But I also do understand that as women in this industry, in the industries that you all are in, there may have been times in the past where things would have happened that would have taken the negative parts of social media and hit it home even further. The three of you all, when you all curate content, it draws a lot of likes, a lot of followers, people are very interested, a lot of views, but at the same point in time, there's a negative side of that. I'll start with Imani first. Has there been anything that has happened recently or otherwise that was like a real negative experience with you on social media, where it was like whether it was trending, whether it was people was talking, whatever, whatnot, that really impacted you in a particular way? And how did you get past the emotions that went with that experience?
I think it wasn't even that serious, but it just showed me, yeah, I'm not gonna even bother to feed into like the negative people. Like at this point, I'll respond to just the positive comments, and it taught me even more to not care what people think, because at the end of the day, you cannot you can't help how people will perceive anything that you put out. And I say that because I literally posted something that was uplifting. It was something inspirational that Rihanna was saying, so I used the audio for the reel, and it just kind of showed my journey and how thankful I was, for how far I've come. And it actually blew up way more than I expected. And with it blowing up, it definitely had its positive reactions and then the negatives. But the one thing that really got me with the negative was, one, it wasn't anything hypersexualized. It was nothing negative to put anyone down. It was just a reminder for those that needed to hear it. Like, don't ever give up. You have to keep going, even if if you have a down day, just keep going, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And one person said that it really touched their heart and that's something they needed to hear. And then on the other hand, you have this man that's like coming dogging Black women, like, and it was just like, what have we done to you for you to take such an inspirational post and turn it left and bash Black women for uplifting other women? And it, to me, it was just like, oh my gosh, like I got so riled up and almost had I don't care what, I'm just gonna say what I want to say. But I had to catch myself, because at the end of the day, you cannot help how people feel what they say. And it's sad because he admitted to trolling. He was looking for a reaction from me, and there's gonna be plenty of people like that, especially when you're putting yourself out there as an entertainer or an influencer. So you have to really overlook the negative, and just not care what people think. You got to do you at the end of the day, because no matter, you could do good and people are still going to have a problem with it. You can do bad and people are going to have a problem with it. So you just need to do you and do you 1,000%.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that, because I remember a couple of months ago I put out a mix for St. Vincent Carnival, and it's like I would go through the comments, just because I like to answer people when they post stuff in the comment section, and you will get like 100 good comments like, yo, great mix, yada yada yada. But that one person's like, I find this song and off, and it's like you have to really and truly kind of program your mind to kind of stay away from the negative. And it's a little bit harder when it is that you're constantly putting yourself out there in the open, especially for the three of you all that constantly out in the public in a particular way. I can imagine how challenging it is having to put out something that you thought would have been positive, that was meant to uplift people, and then somebody comes at you for something that's meant to be positive.
And honestly, it's helped me with situations, even being at home with family, right? There's always, you start to notice, like, your family, sometimes some of them might say certain unnecessary negative things, and that used to irritate me so much. But I realized after that situation, I handle my situations at home different. Like, if my aunt says something negative, I don't even answer, and she'd be like, did you hear what I said? Yeah, I did. I just didn't want to respond to it, because there's no point in feeding into the negative comments that you just because it was unnecessary. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's starting to help me to move forward within my career.
Yeah. Adana, I want to ask you the same question, but I want to piggyback on something that I see in the comment section from Mark Charges, because Mark is one of the frequent guys on this chat, and usually if he asks a question and we don't get it, he will come back to it like 6 lines after and say, yeah, this is my question from before. And it essentially was, have you faced denigrating comments from men within the industry because of your gender? And if so, how did you face it? Sorry.
It's not necessarily because of my gender outwardly. It may be subtle somewhere in the back, but it would be more so my experience or my intellect, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So sometimes it's like You're trying to pull one over me. It's like you're peeing on me and telling me it's rain, and you really want to know if I'm smart enough, right? So like sometimes dealing with like contracts and stuff, and you might be dealing with a promoter, and you know, there are specifics, there are certain things, and then they try to say, oh no, well, it's not supposed to be done this way, because usually how we do it is such and such way. So like, for example, I had a incident the other day where I was dealing with a client, and after going through the contract, you know, it was very clear what the terms were, right? And then close to signing, they kind of pulled a okie dokie and was like, no, well, we want it this way. And usually everybody that we have dealt with in the past has done it this way for us. And I said, okay, I understand that you may have had some level of expectation based on your experiences prior. And I cannot speak to how other people conduct their business, because that's not my place. But what I will tell you is that this is the way that we do business, and this is the way that I do business. So if you're not prepared to follow those terms respectfully, we're perfectly fine with walking away from the situation.
Right.
You know, and the person was absolutely riled up, because I feel as though like he expected me to just say, oh, okay, I'll fix it. And, you know, he kind of put me in the situation where, you know what, further to which, let me just speak to your client directly. I was like, absolutely not, because I have every single bit of authority to speak on the client's behalf, right, and to negotiate on their behalf. And there's no reason why you need to speak to my client, because I've already been assigned those rights to speak on that person's behalf. They would not have me here doing it if I wasn't capable of doing it. So again, this is the way that we do business. And they just kept comparing. And all the comparisons, the names that they were dropping was like men, right? So that's why I said that it was kind of like subtle. So it really wasn't like outwardly, yeah, because you're a woman. But I really just had to absolutely school them. And then you're trying to tell me like certain things about the business and kind of throwing out some words like if it's supposed to scare me. And I'm like, listen, again, I'm making it very clear to you. I understand that you may have had other experiences with other parties. Sharing who those persons are with me does not sway me in the direction of compromising for your comfort. Our comfort resides this way. This is what we require. The contract is in black and white. It's very clear, and we're not changing it.
Right.
Respectfully, you know. So after a lot of back and forth, because the person was arguing, I wasn't arguing. I was just like, okay. And then there was one point where I said, you know. And he said to me, Adana, you don't answer someone saying, You need to answer me yes or no. I'm like, listen. My heart jumped. Listen, I was just happy that it was a phone conversation, because, baby, if we were in person, I don't know like what my resting face would have done, how I would have been able to handle that situation on the phone. It gave me a lot of time to take like some deep breaths and be like, okay, I understand that you're disappointed that this is not working out for you. And I'm so sorry that you feel that way. But again, this is how it's going to work. Yeah, so I hope sharing that experience gives some clarity. So, I mean, it's kind of subtle. For me, of course, I've had situations where people would be like, you know, maybe they think I don't know. So I feel as though it's probably just, kind of young in the business. So maybe she doesn't know. And then quickly, it's one of the reasons why I'm so big on educating myself, right? Because I'm like, you know what? A lot of people have different things working for them, right? So there might be people who bring different things to the table. So somebody might look at Imani and be like, oh my God, damn, she's cute, right? And that might be the first thing that they might see, right? Or somebody might look at somebody else and be like, oh my God, this person has this amazing shape, or this person has nice hair. Oh my God, nice high cheekbones or eyes or whatever. There are certain things that people grab onto, right? And there might be things that people see about me that they might grab onto first. But I always like to feel as though when I open my mouth, that the thing that you will hold on to is like, yeah, Adana is smart. So I pride myself in making sure that I educate myself. Like if I show people how many different, outside of my associates and my bachelors, like I have a stack of certificates, right, you know, of just when stuff I had free time to do. Yeah. When I have free time on work, and instead of falling asleep or watching Netflix, it's like, okay, there's this Okay, Coursera has this course. Okay, how much for the
Right.
certificate? All right, so go do something in social media. Go do something in this because while I know that I may not be able to be a Jill of all trades, I feel as though it's very important for me to have that level of education so nobody can try to trick me.
Yeah.
And then in the instances where I'm not certain, I know that there are relationships that I can leverage on to call for advice. So as I mentioned, my mentor Natasha, I would call her and I'd be like, Tash, I'm in this situation. I don't know if you've experienced it before, but I wanted some advice on such and such. Could you guide me? So I'm not prideful when it comes to asking. But you see my education and my smarts, like mess with me with anything else, but don't call me dumb. Don't call me
And
dumb because I'm far from it.
and that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do it in the pod. So make sure and keep that.
Oh my God,
That's how you
Mr.
do it in the
Ball.
pod, ladies and gentlemen. But no, I do take your point because I think a lot of people during the pandemic had to pick up some sort of skill. And the skill doesn't even necessarily have to be that something that you sit down and you learn on a course, or whatever, but it was something new that you had to pick up for yourself. Even if it was just coping and learning how to cope with certain stresses. So I've tried my best to take that experience from the pandemic and take every day and learn something new from it. Charlotte, quickly, I'll go back to your original question. Was there experience that happened on social media? 'Cause again, we all talk about social media following, the amount of followers that
Yeah.
people have and all this stuff, the posts. Was there something social media related that happened to you recently that really went through was a real negative experience that you know had to learn from and grow from?
Um, I would say I needed a break from social media, to
Right.
be honest, because of the pandemic, and I just needed time to kind of pull back and not be as present as I usually am. Um, I just I wasn't compelled to even post at one point. I felt like, and I mentioned this in my birthday post because on my birthday I always try to say something very real and honest and stuff. So I mentioned that I was kind of going through a phase where social media was becoming like a burden. It felt like I'm only posting to be seen, to be relevant, because we don't have the stage anymore. We don't have the in person that interaction anymore. So the only time we're really seen or heard is on social media. So it started to become like a real responsibility, and I just didn't enjoy it for quite a while. It took a toll on me, and I wanted to share that with people. I wanted to show people that even DJs, I mean, you see us going live or posting and stuff, and then you think everything is okay. But I mean, at one point we kind of went from gigs and being always on the go to everything just stopping. So it's kind of like going back to the drawing board and trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to navigate myself? How am I going to navigate my brand through this pandemic when I'm not even allowed to do what I've worked on doing this whole time, DJing, people, socializing, all of these things are taken away from me. So I felt like I was handicapped at one point, and I had to come off social media. I turned off my notifications. I needed time to just kind of, do some self-evaluation and go back to the roots. And because I started to think, was I getting all this fame and popularity because of hype? Because she's a woman, or is it because I'm good at what I do, or maybe there's more things that I need to work on while I have the time. So I took time to focus on other things like producing, for instance, and I ended up producing an EP, and I put that out, and I got into other things like art, painting, which is something that I actually wanted to do when I was in secondary school.
Yeah.
But I never really took the time to focus on it. And I wanted to just explore other things. I mean, Adana mentioned taking courses. I actually did the same. I took an online course, and I wanted to explore other things. Like, what else am I good at? What else can I do? Now that I have the time to really focus. So social media became my enemy at one point. I felt like I would open social media and I would open Instagram and I would see everybody posting and they posted regular, you know, whether it is they posted 600 dots every Monday, Wednesday, and you tell that people are on it and they are posting their content and people telling you post your content and
at 6 o'clock and make sure at 6 o'clock you use this hashtag and that hashtag and tag that person.
And
oh, God,
and I just feel like, oh,
Jesus.
okay, like writing it down like I am back in school, you know, and I'm like, oh my God, like I want to post content, but I don't even know what to post, you know, there's no gigs, there's no thing for me to be me, you know, because I used to post from shows, me and my element, like those are the things that I want to share on social media, me doing what I love. So taking that away leaves me with what now? Like what am I supposed to, maybe I should go live, and I didn't even feel compelled to do those DJ lives. And I admire all the DJs that put aside whatever they were feeling or took what they were feeling and put it into the music, and they did it for free. People went live and people played their music and they brought people in good spirits. And I realized I am not good. Like I need to pull back from a lot, and it took a while for me to really catch myself, and you know, I started to realize that I'm worrying too much about what's going to happen, the future, and I started realizing, you know, the future really don't exist right now, you know, like, you know, this is happening, life is happening right now, and you can't. I used to realize that I would wait for things to happen to be like, when I get this, or when this happens to me in my career is when I will feel happy, or when I will say, boy, I make it. And then I realized I would get to that stepping stone, and then I wouldn't be satisfied. I'd be like, I want more. I want more. I feel like I could push further. And then I just had to change my mindset, and I realized, you know, you have to live for today. Yeah. You really need to. It may not be the best situation, or you know that you could be in a better situation, but the one thing you have control over is now. And that's when I kind of realized, you know, I really can't be worrying about what's gonna happen, or when we gonna get to go back outside. Like, no, like I had to just kind of stop all of that. And then when I changed my mindset and I realized that, you know, instead of me moving towards my goals, look at it as time moving to me, you know, like everything is coming to me, and I just need to focus on being ready and prepare myself for when that happens. This isn't going to be our situation forever. We're not going to be inside forever. The world is going to open back up, and we are going to get back to those glory days. So we need to, in the meantime, as artists, DJs, PR reps, everybody, all of us needs to prepare ourselves for what is coming, you know, just kind of focus on you now and try to, you know, be better. And from there, the creative juices started to flow. My mind started to go buzzing, like, okay, I could post like these reels and little snippets of me like DJing and, you know, like things just to kind of show people that, hey, she's still here, like I'm still here, and I'm still very much great at what I do, and let me just get a little taste until I really get to show me in full. Yeah. You know, so social media,
but I like the fact where you went to that, because actually that brings me to like the final question I want to ask the three of you all for the night, because each of you spoke about how those experiences impacted the way that you deal with your interpersonal relationships. But I want to bring it back to the business side of it, because once again, as I said, not just for the live tonight, but for people who are going to view this after, I always like to leave tidbits for individuals when they look at these lives to say, hey, I learned this from hearing Imani speak or Adana speak. So I'll ask Imani this, I'll go to Charlotte and then finish with Adana. Is there any particular philosophy towards how you approach your career that you think is something that not just a woman, but anybody, woman, man, looking at this live tonight, is there any particular philosophy that you think works for you? Obviously, everybody is different, but it works for you that has continued to propel you in your life that you think could be a good source of motivation to somebody else?
Yeah, Charlotte said it. I've always been stuck on stay ready, don't get ready. And my friends and people that I'm associated with close in the industry have always heard me say it. They'll be like, so make sure you get ready. And I'm like, I don't get ready, I stay ready. I'm always ready. But I just say that because again, we, like Charlotte said, we ask for certain, or we want certain things within our career. And honestly, it's one thing to say, I want to do this, I want to do that. But it's a totally different thing when you say you want those things and you don't see it coming, and then you get it and you don't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? And that I learned that big time from even Soca Monarch with Take Jam, right? I always said, oh my gosh, I want to get into Soca Monarch. I want to get into just to experience it. And then 2020 came, I kind of just submitted, but not really taking it on like I'm gonna get through. And when I get through, I was not ready. Like, yeah. So after that, it was just straight up stay ready, don't get ready, stay ready, because I didn't know what to do when I got through with Soca Monarch. I was totally like, oh my gosh, okay, I know I wanted that, but what I do within that, Yeah. So now it's I'm very, very serious about just being ready. And even if I may not be where I want to be, at least I need to be working on it so that when I do get to that point, I know what to do and I know how to move forward. And I can execute 100% rather than, okay, I got it and now I don't know. I got to figure it out real fast,
Gotcha.
So that's a big deal.
Yeah. Charlotte, philosophy that anybody could take away from tonight for you.
I mean, I feel like I said it already, but the situation that you're in now isn't going to last forever, and you have to focus on what is happening right now, your life right now. You only have control over so much, and you can set goals. Don't get me wrong, set your goals and work towards them, but also take time to focus on now and focus on the version that you are now, because things will get better. And I say that's an Patrice line and nobody cares that. Okay, cool.
Oh my God, shut up, Jesus Christ.
No, seriously. Yeah, things will get better. So you can only control the person that you are now and improve on it as time goes by, not to worry too much. If this pandemic has taught anybody, is to not worry. Anything could happen. It could go from having a whole carnival
to having pods,
to going in, exactly. So don't take life too seriously.
Yeah.
Go on the trip that you wanted to go to. Do the things that you want to do. Do it now.
Yeah.
And if you can't do it now, it will get to that. You'll get there.
Adana, you get the last word. The philosophy that you would like everybody to take away from tonight.
And I need to go through this real quick because there's a couple of philosophies, right? So I'm going to say it really, really quickly.
That's fine.
Comparison is the thief of joy. I've learned that comparing yourself to others will completely throw you off your game. So I would implore that, just stay focused. So look at nobody else's grass, because you don't know what people are doing to get their grass green. So that's something that my mother instilled in me, like, don't watch other people's things, miss, just focus on your business. So I would say that. I would say what you mean and mean what you say. And that's, for me, I'm very big on my word and what I say and being intentional with it. I am reminding people to constantly be aware of the words that you use in your life, because I believe that words have power. And sometimes we say things to ourselves that could really stunt our growth as women and as people on the whole. Sometimes I would catch myself doing it, and my mom would be like, why would you say that? You hear what you're saying, So a reminder that words are so, 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 so powerful. And that energy is powerful, to just surround yourself with people who are just as pure as could possibly be. Because energy is just one of those things that when people take it from you, you have to figure out how to refill your cup, So, and I have more points because I could go all day. And these are just things like I'm saying it to people, but I'm also saying it to myself, because these are things that I really, really believe. I believe that investing in your craft is important. And I believe that presenting yourself in a way that you want to be interpreted is also very important. How you want to be perceived is how you should try to present yourself. So people would take you seriously in all facets of your life and your career. And yeah, shout outs to all my aunties on the live. I made it. They're looking in from Texas, my uncle in LA, and my cousins in New York.
Adana is the first. Adana is the first person that's come on this. Adana is the first person that's come. She's the first person that's come on this podcast to be like, shout out to my crew, man. But
my mom downstairs.
But I want to say this quickly before we wrap up. And I always like to tell people, I like to kind of give you of where the story is going to end. The story is going to end, and she doesn't know this. The story is going to end as to why DJ Charlotte is the reason that this podcast exists. Like this episode of the Presenters Feeling, right? So hold on. First of all, no, that's where the story is going to end. We're going to take it full circle quickly because I want to wrap up quickly. First of all, I want to thank the three of you ladies for the time tonight. I think everybody who tuned in had not just a good time and a spirited conversation, but they learned a lot. One of the things I always say about this podcast is that it's a labor of love, and I learn as much from the individuals on the podcast as everybody else. And I've known two of you for a while. Imania only met recently. Adana, I could say that some of the things that you said in terms of comparison is the thief of joy. You are right. The truth and fact is that when you exist in your space, sometimes it's very difficult to be going on your street, but looking at the street that others going on and thinking that you're not progressing. But sometimes your progression goes at a different pace than others, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to reach the point that you're going to reach. And I think knowing you the years that I've known you, and seeing the progression of your career from the person, as I said, that we would lime on a Great Fete weekend in Tobago, to somebody right now who is representing some of the biggest artists in our country and in our region, it goes to show that by you not having those comparisons, or you getting rid of those comparisons and walking the Adana road, not the Adana road that this other person walked, but the road that you wanted for yourself, is something that's very significant to where your career has been. Emmanuel's talking about stay ready, don't get ready. And the truth and fact is that sometimes, and I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, Tiffany in Florida, sometimes staying ready means being of good mental health. And if there's one thing I've realized, just in listening to conversations that I would hear you have on Clubhouse all the way back during the beginning of the pandemic and being in different rooms, the truth and fact is that you are somebody who is very introspective on yourself. And yes, you want to be able to stay ready, but staying ready has multiple levels for it. Whether it's just your mental health, your emotional health, when it comes down to your craft. And that is something that I realize that you continuously work on. Your passion has been dance. And even though you are an artist, you still stay ready by dancing. You understand? And at the end of the day, even if it is that you wanted to become the singer and the performer, you understood that to be able to get to that level, even though people will tell you you have a nice voice, the bottom line is that it was important for you to stay ready by getting better at what it is that you do. So I'm hoping that everybody tonight that would have tuned into this conversation, even if it is that you need to take a break from what you're doing right now, understand that staying ready means at some point in time, you jump back on the horse of what it is that you're doing. Charlotte, I would say that from seeing how your career and your life has progressed, one of the things that you said just now is that you have to live in the present, right? And one of the things that a lot of people probably don't know, but you would remember, is that a lot of times when you used to post stuff on social media, in the early intonation of your social media career, it always used to have, the future is female. And when we had the first episode of the present is female, I was like, nah, the present is female. It's not about being the future, because the truth and fact is that everybody always asks me why I decide to have this conversation, because it's one guy talking to 3 women. But at the same point in time, I feel like I could learn from the experiences of you guys, and everybody who tunes in could also learn from the experiences of you guys, because this is where it is now. The present is now. You guys are here now. And the truth and fact is that if we could be able to get those same synergistic relationships from all the people that we have learned from before, men-wise, the bottom line is having you powerful women come and be so transparent with your stories, whether it's talking about depression, whether it's talking about how you got over something, whether it's talking about emotional PTSD, or all those other factors that we spoke about tonight. These are things that when people look at this conversation, they'll be able to take something from it and say, you know what, I was able to get quality out of it instead of quantity in that conversation. And I think that is something that's been very, very important for this entire night, for this edition of The Present is Female. So Charlotte, you are the one that helped come up with the idea of The Present is Female. And I've never told you this. Never told you this, right? Never told you this. You know, but funny enough, as I go with that, Charlotte knows this, that we met a couple of weeks ago. Because we hadn't spoken in a while.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that I actually wanted to tell you at the point in time, because it goes to show, even with Imani saying, stay ready, right? People will be watching what you're doing and they might not say anything, you know, but it will act in their mind to say, yo, I have an idea of what is going on. I'm seeing what this person is doing. And somewhere, somehow, you might be motivating somebody that you don't even know. So just by the fact that somebody I know for the last couple of years was saying that the future is female, now the present is female. And that was the real reason that we came up with the name of this. You know, so I have to thank you as well too. So, ladies,
you're welcome.
I thank you all so much for being part of the 3rd edition of The Present is Female. Charlotte and Ray extremely exhausted from working out.
And I have a long day tomorrow.
Right. Imani, I don't know how much laps with the dog you make, but Anway made a lot of laps with the dog today.
Going nuts right now.
Right? And well, Adana,
special announcement tomorrow, but
right. So we're waiting for the special announcement tomorrow.
So
and well, as we saw tonight, Adana is the only one inside the safe zone right now. You understand? Adana showing pot. In the pot. She have she pot.
No, come over with me.
Adana don't play, girl. You don't play, girl.
Yo, I thank you guys so much for being on the podcast tonight. I hope to speak to you guys again very, very soon. Thank you all so much, and we will keep in contact, okay?
Thank you. Bye, ladies.
Right.
Bye,
everyone.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that was The Present is Female. I want to thank DJ Charlotte. I want to thank Imani. And I want to thank Adana for joining us tonight. Also, I want to thank everybody that joined us on all the platforms to look at the conversation. I really appreciate you guys and your time tonight. All right. Before we go, I just got to remind you guys that the podcast each and every week is powered by Travi, the #1 rideshare app in Trinidad and Tobago. And just remember that Travi is the only rideshare app in TNT that rewards you. Earn free credit when you refer friends using your personal referral code to earn points on each trip you take to get cash back. Visit travirides.com/rewards to learn more information. Make life easier with Travi. I also want to make a special announcement in terms of the scheduling of the podcast. As you guys know, from the beginning of the year when we started episode 1, this was a weekly show, but we are going to be also moving now to every other week. So the next live show will be on March the 21st. That will be when our next live show is. But next week, we will have a TKKP Rewind where we'll be discussing the Carnival ban situation from 2021 with a member of Yuma, Paparazzi, and somebody from Tobago. So I want you guys to look out for that at 8 p.m. next week. All right, the TKKP Rewind. And then we'll be back on March 21st. If you are joining us on Twitch, the after party goes down at DJ Busby's page on Twitch. So to all my Twitch followers, we are going to DJ Busby on Twitch right after for I Love Soca. That's going on now till 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 p.m. in the Caribbean, right? And finally, guys, just want to remind you guys as well, make sure and subscribe to the Creative Collective Podcast page on YouTube. Please subscribe. We're looking to get as much subscribers as possible. Make sure and subscribe to our page. Make sure and follow us on Instagram at the Creative Collective Podcast. We are also on Facebook and Twitch at the Creative Collective Podcast. And of course, TKK Podcasts on TikTok, right? So make sure and follow us on TikTok at TKK Podcast. For all my party people, tomorrow night I will be back on Twitch at 8 p.m. for Carnival Tuesday. It will be the final Carnival Tuesday on Twitch, as we're going to switch it up again after that. So if you're on Twitch tomorrow night, look out for me for Carnival Tuesday, all right? So I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. We had a very fantastic show. This was a great discussion with our ladies. And I will see you guys on March the 21st. Yep, March the 21st. I'll see you guys March the 21st for another live episode. Next week again, remember the TKKP Rewind, where we'll be broadcasting here. And of course, shout out to all our people at GMGT Live in New York for always hosting us every single week. Okay, so that's it for tonight. Good night, and as usual, God bless.
Hi, my name is Sasha, and these are 5 reasons I use Travi. Rewards. Who doesn't like free stuff? You could earn free rides using a referral code or earn points on each ride to get cash back. Customer service. I love Travi customer service because they're always willing to help and always available whenever I need them. Simplicity. The app is real easy to use. I can book a ride now or pre-book for future dates. Real easy. Safety. Travi has the most safety features of any app. I can send my live location to anyone, and there's even an SOS button to alert family and friends in case of any emergency. Drivers. The drivers treat you like family, and I feel secure from the time I get in to when I exit. How you going? These are the reasons why I ride with Travi, and you should too. Make life easy with Travi.
Step into the spotlight.